just like miming through the whole thing. Then at the end it says, we have 30,000 hours of music footage spanning the past 90 years and more than 8,000 hours of interviews from entertainers. So I don't know what is going on, but these guys seem to be sitting on a gold mine, reeling in the years productions. What do you make of that, Dave?
Cool if they have more stuff like that, not just Van Halen, but everything. I thought the clip was cool. I don't remember seeing it before. Certainly not quality. Yeah, it was lip sync, but I think that was around the time that Van Halen was on European TV promoting themselves over there.
You think it was in Europe then?
I do, because I don't think they were doing any U.S. TV around that time. So I think it was more European. Like, we finally saw what the whole dinosaur performance was about. And there's been other clips of Van Halen around that time in Europe. So I think it was part of a European promotional tour they were doing, for lack of a better term, because I don't even know if they were playing live shows in Europe around that time. I think they were just trying to do some promo press. So it's always good to see that stuff come out in good quality. It's very early 80s, the stripes and everything. I enjoy watching it because I love seeing that stuff, and I'd be curious to see if there's anything else Van Halen related they have in the vaults we haven't seen.
Yeah, very curious. I know everybody who listens to our podcast, they always ask us about more information on the Van Halen recordings from the year 2000. So we all remember that after Van Halen 3 bombed, Van Halen got together with Dave in the summer of 2000 to record some material, and everybody's always wondering what's about. Now, this is the information we have here. So now we all remember that Michael Anthony told Burn. I don't know if we have a complete album's worth of stuff, but we were pretty darn close. That was in 2006 interview with Burn. And he said, unfortunately, there you go with Dave again, and he couldn't finish it and all those reasons why he left the band in the first place. They started resurfacing. Then in a 2008 interview with the Van Halen News Desk, Michael Anthony said, we pulled the plug before we could really get deep into really getting it going. But this is what apparently happened. So there's this writer, musician, and frequent Roth interviewer Frank Meyer had said on the DLR cast that in 2004, the singer's manager played him 4 songs from the 2000 sessions, all which wound up on A Different Kind of Truth. Apparently, the songs were As Is, Honey Baby Sweetie Doll, Trouble with Never, and Blood and Fire. So now, the truth is, we actually got the songs. So we don't have to really worry about it. Now, Michael Anthony's not on them for sure. Maybe they sounded a little bit different, but we definitely got the songs. So Meyer had said the songs were awesome, but a lot of them stopped dead in the middle. So it wasn't the full song. The reason why is Roth's manager at the time, Matt Sensio, said Dave knew that he was in Eddie's studio on Eddie's tapes, and that once he walked out the door, who knew what was going to happen with that stuff? So he told Eddie the only way he'd go in and do these sort of live demos is if they didn't have full recordings of them until they cut the deal to put out an album as Van Halen, which didn't happen for another several years. Interesting findings there. What do you make of that, Dave? This is really kind of crazy, right?
Yes, quite a revelation. I found it very interesting that there were songs that eventually ended up on A Different Kind of Truth. So they weren't new when A Different Kind of Truth came out, but they had been worked on about a decade before, which was interesting. More than ever, I really want to hear what that stuff sounded like circa 2000.
Yeah.
Not that we ever will.
Who knows? But, I started doing some addition here. Listen to this, because I realized that we sort of have a secret Van Halen album amongst our midst, and we don't even know it. So listen to this. So we all know the 6-pack. We all know the 4-pack from Sam. We all know the Gary album. We all know A Different Kind of Truth. But there is another album that you can put together, and I just did this. So listen to this. Imagine, if you will, an 8-song album. It's a little short, but consider this. We got Humans Being, Up for Breakfast, Learning to See, It's About Time, Crossing Over, Can't Get This Stuff No More, Me Wise Magic, and I Want Some Action. If you think about it, that's sort of we're going to call it a playlist, because it's not really an album, but it's sort of like the ghosted Van Halen album that doesn't exist. Actually, you know what? I'm going to add another song on there, a 9th song. That's Why I Love You, from Gary. You throw Gary in there. You got 9 songs now. Look at that. What do you think of that, Dave?
Be a nice bonus to the box set we never got.
Well, actually, today's world, you could make your own CD of this. So, you know what?
Right.
So that could almost be right there. 9 original Van Halen songs that were not on any of the albums, but if you put them all together, they make an album. What do you think of that? Pretty genius.
That's a great idea for a playlist.
Absolutely. Another idea, listen to this, another thing that came about. So I'm going to tell everybody, you used to say this to me, Dave, remember? When you see it, get it, because you might not see it again. So,
very true.
Yeah, right? So you know how it is. So there is a set out there, okay? And I'm holding it in my hands as I speak. It's called Van Halen Eruption Live. Maybe some of you have seen it, maybe some of you haven't. But whatever you do, go grab it, because it's cheap and it's good. So it's called Van Halen Eruption Live. Dave, it's a 6 CD box set, all radio broadcasts. Disc 1 is 1976 Golden West Ballroom from Norwalk, California, as well as 1976 Starwood Club, Hollywood, California.
I don't think those are radio broadcasts.
Well, either way, they're clear sounding. Disc 2, 1977 Pasadena Civic Auditorium, Pasadena, California, 1977, Disc 2. Disc 3 is 1978 Tokyo, Japan. Disc 4 is 1979 Osaka, Japan. Disc 5, 1982 Dallas, Texas, and Disc 6, 1992 Fresno, California. The only Sammy disc. Now listen to this, Dave. Right now as we speak, everybody should go on Amazon.com. It is selling for $14.53. That is $14.53.
What a bargain.
That's what I'm saying, my friend. That is a bargain. So whoever wants to grab that, go grab it, because it seems to be disappearing. And let me tell you something. The packaging is phenomenal. So what can I tell you? Lots of crazy stuff. Now, Brad Paisley pays tribute to Eddie Van Halen in a recent concert on July 10th in West Palm Beach, Florida. Brad Paisley is a big Eddie Van Halen fan, started playing Hot for Teacher in the middle of his set in honor of Ed. Interesting thing, though, he kind of played the music. He didn't do all the vocals with Dave, because that would be kind of weird, I guess, to do like, heard you missed us, we're back. When you're not Dave, it's like a little strange to sing. So he kind of played the song, and because you hear a country artist doing that song, I never realized how much it sounds like a ZZ Top song. It's incredible. Here's a clip. So now he's just doing the chorus. He's just singing Hot for Teacher, the regular chorus there. He's not getting into all the, the little fun jokes that Dave does. But he put a screen behind him, all went up in the Eddie stripes, red, black, and white, and he paid tribute to Ed. I thought that was a nice thing. What do you think?
That is a nice thing.
Yeah.
And Hot for Teacher is definitely one of those songs that will remind you of ZZ Top. It's got the boogie.
Yeah.
It's got the boogie.
Yeah, definitely.
And ZZ Top and Van Halen were both fans of the boogie, so you'll hear some similarities in there.
Amazing. And the last item for Van Halen news is we got some good news from Mr. Brian May, or we should call him Dr. Brian May. He's got his doctorate now. So Brian May of Queen is in the process of reissuing his solo catalog. He recently put out a deluxe version of his 1993 album, Back to the Light. And he told Ultimate Classic Rock that after doing his Another World solo album in a deluxe version, he plans on doing a deluxe version of, wait for it, the Starfleet Project with extra Eddie Van Halen solos. And he says here, I know Eddie played the solo for Starfleet 3 times. Each time was incredible and each time was different. He says, I can't wait to get in there and start researching this stuff. So what do you make of that, Dave? I know you're a fan of that.
Yeah, that's cool. If he can release some unreleased jams that him and Ed were doing, I'm all in on that for sure.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps up Van Halen news.
And that's the way it is. Good night.
And oh boy, do we have an episode for you. Holy shit. So Dave and I had a long, deep discussion with the authors of Eruption, Conversations with Eddie Van Halen by Brad Tolinski and Chris Gill. These two authors, they are both writers and editors of Guitar World. Chris is still with Guitar World. Brad is a former editor of Guitar World. They still write for Guitar World. So these guys have spent years interviewing Eddie, on and off, of course, throughout the years. And they put all their interviews together to make this book. And this is an ultimate Eddie book. Guys, get it right now. Go on Amazon and order. It's not even expensive. It's not even close to being expensive. It's very inexpensive. Eruption, Conversations with Eddie Van Halen by Brad Tolinski and Chris Gill. Unbelievable book. We do a very deep dive discussion. It's Dave, me, Brad, and Chris, and we get into it, Dave, right? We got into the weeds on this one. We talked about all kinds of detailed minutia. It gets so fucking Van Halen geeky, it's like out of control. So it is really something special. We're really happy to present that to you, and we want to tell everybody it is required reading. If you are a listener to this podcast, this is exactly the book you want. It is prime meat. But before that happens, we have a sack of mail to get through, and we are going to be doing that coming up next. Take a listen.
Being on stage is great. It's like being in the jungle, and you hear all the noise and the volume, and the people are all screaming, and there's smoke in the air, and people are throwing stuff up on stage. They throw, scarves and brassieres, and the keys to their house and the keys to their car, and everything comes up on stage. It's a big mess. It looks just like my hotel room, and it gets really hot. Reaches about 110 degrees Fahrenheit by about the second song, and you're out of wind, and you kind of limp, or you barely make it to the next song, and that's only the second song. You feel like an animal, man. You feel like it's real primal. Has great therapeutic value, I have a good time. That's why I got this job.
If you need a dose of VH, get a taste of the closest thing. Romeo Delight, the ultimate Van Halen tribute band, playing all the hits from the David Lee Roth era, first classic 6 albums, plus deep cuts, some of which have never been played live before by the band. They even throw in popular tracks from the Sammy Hagar era and solo hits. The most viewed Van Halen tribute band on YouTube, Romeo Delight, doing customized recreations of staging, instruments, and costumes from the classic Van Halen era. They even perform entire Van Halen albums in sequence. Romeo Delight plays theaters, casinos, summer indoor and outdoor festivals, and special events. They're also available for private parties. To contact them, call Bud Blanche at 215-704-5144. That's 215-704-5144. Or via email at sonicparade1@yahoo.com. Romeo Delight, the ultimate Van Halen tribute band.
Martin Popoff here. Hope you're enjoying this latest episode of Dave and Dave Unchained, the Wise Swamis on all things VH. Just wanted to remind you that at martinpopoff.com, I've got 2 Van Halen books that I wrote. One is Van Halen, a visual biography, which is basically a big hardcover coffee table book, 400 images, 20,000 word detailed timeline. And the other one is called Unchained, a Van Halen user manual. It's the sort of 120,000 word, very academic, a lot of crazy chapters, a lot of trivia, wordy book that I did on Van Halen. So yes, go to martinpopoff.com. I sign and ship those out of my office here in Toronto. There's PayPal buttons for the US, international, and Canada. Again, Van Halen, a visual biography, and Unchained, a Van Halen user manual. Back to Dave and Dave.
Hey, this is Mitch Schneider from SROPR, a publicity firm, and we are digging the Dave and Dave Unchained podcast.
Pick up the new coffee table size book, The Decade That Rocked, by legendary rock photographer Mark Weissguy Weiss. This 376-page book has hundreds and hundreds of full-color photos that Weiss shot through the 80s for magazines like Circus, Faces, and Hit Parader, featuring bands like Van Halen, Motley Crue, Twisted Sister, Bon Jovi, Skid Row, Guns N' Roses, Ozzy Osbourne, and more. There's even behind-the-scenes stories